brother.
Sweet.
So welcome to Chats with Choccy. Today we're with Alan Timmerman, who's an oral health therapist. Welcome, Al.
Thanks, Choccy. Thanks for having me, mate. Been a big fan for a long time, so yeah, keen to get chatting to you.
Yeah, likewise, mate. We always had them good conversations after jiu-jitsu, which is really awesome to hear.
What sparked this, I think, yeah.
Yeah. I've read a few different books on just briefly on oral health. No, I know nothing, but just what I have read, it's such a big topic, and I feel it's more prominent now.
Yeah, I think ever since was it Breathe came out, I think people started to realize the connection between breathing as well as there's connections to tongue ties, breastfeeding issues. It's a really deep topic as well when you start going into breastfeeding and how bottle feeding can impact development, which can impact swallowing, which can then impact orthodontic function and that sort of thing. So I think the media picks little topics with oral health and goes for a run. But yeah, definitely more on the breathing front lately. And I work specifically in periodontics. So my focus is very narrow. I really only look at gum disease, implants, peri-implantitis for the last few years, last 10 years is all I've focused on, which is, it's a very narrow topic, but it goes deep. It goes really deep. So, but I sort of have broad knowledge on oral health. So any questions you have, Choccy?
Yeah.
about oral health, fire away.
Yeah, we'll see if we can fit them in all into an hour. See how we go. So I just want to start, like, how did you get into it? How were you interested or fascinated with the mouth?
I'll try to keep it as a real brief story,
Cool.
but
Yeah,
I was playing a lot of footy in high school. I wasn't very academic. I got injured playing footy and they said, oh, you probably can't play footy anymore. What do you want to do? And I asked my parents and they said, lawyer, doctor, dentist. So I spent the typical South African parents. So I spent a day or two with each one of those professionals, and the doctor wasn't very happy. He was helping out people that weren't very grateful. The lawyer was not very happy. He was defending people that weren't very good. He wasn't very happy. And the dentist was kite surfing every weekend. His patients adored him. He's driving a beautiful car. And I was like, oh, this teeth thing seems pretty good.
He's like, that sold me too. Yeah.
He's onto a good thing. So I got into oral health and did my 3 years down at Griffith University, which was a great time. I was very poor, but that's character building.
Yes.
And yeah, it's I went to work straight after that because I had no money, and I thought I'd go back and finish my doctorate and do some other stuff. But as soon as I started working, I knew I just sort of found a good thing for myself. Like I just, if you don't mind dirty mouths and dealing with people in close proximity, it's a really great job, a really rewarding job. But it for some people, if you don't like people, I wouldn't recommend you go in any kind of healthcare really, because you're very close to people that are not usually in their best state of mind or comfortable or happy, and you're doing unpleasant things that are often expensive to them. So yeah, it takes a unique character, and I'm just lucky that I seem to thrive in that environment. It seems to be really good for me.
Well, props to you, mate, because yeah, I know that every time I have thought about going to the dentist, it's always been out of fear or out of, I think we need to change that little paradigm, because it's, every time we bring up the dentist, it's always like, oh, fuck the dentist, I don't want to go there.
Well, mate, but, you're onto something there, because I mean, the main trigger that gets people in the door is usually pain. And if you're in pain in a dental sense, you're usually in a lot of trouble. It's usually, you're talking root canal, removal of tooth, very deep filling. You're talking expensive, but not just expensive. You're talking about something that's going to lead to something else. It's going to lead to something else that's, it's just going to be a cost over a decade or two. So if I could leave you guys with anything useful in this entire 45 minutes or whatever we have, it would be that, prevention is cheaper and better than cure. Go when you're not in pain, have a checkup, have a clean. It's, go once or twice a year, clean your teeth, floss your teeth, and you'll save yourself, tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Because as soon as you have that one filling, the filling needs to be replaced in 5 to 10 years. That becomes a bigger filling, which then becomes a crown, and the crown needs a root canal, and the root canal fails, and then you need an implant, and then the implant has trouble. You're talking 20K, that's because you start off with one filling, right? So I'm a big advocate of prevention over cure. Hopefully I can give you some more tips on, how to save yourself a bucket load over a lifetime, but don't go when you're in pain, because by then you're up the creek. So go sooner rather than later, and you'll do yourself a big favor.
Yeah, I love that. I love that prevention idea. I love that for the health and fitness industry. I love it for everything, because the more you prevent yourself from, injury or pain or illness, the more you have more freedom in your life, because you're not going to be held down by injury and finances and all the bad stuff that comes with it, right?
100%. Like you said with fitness, if you get seriously overweight, you have to do like hero level stuff to get back to healthy. But if you just make those good lifestyle choices every day, you're never really going to get yourself in such a state that you have to, run marathons and do intermittent fasting to kind of get yourself back on track. You should be able to just maintain with a normal kind of healthy lifestyle, without having to go down the crazy route.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. What's one thing that fascinated me when I talked to you is that you could smell gum disease when someone walked in the room. Now I'd hate to see that when they sit down and you have to look in their mouth, but talk to me a little bit about gum disease and the relation with disease in the mouth that you've noticed.
Yeah, so gum disease is a pretty poorly understood thing by the public. Basically, bacteria accumulates in a susceptible person, and their body overreacts to that bacteria, and you end up with loss of periodontium. And periodontium means around the tooth. This is like Latin. So you lose the ligaments that hold onto the tooth, as well as the bone that holds onto the tooth. So what that can look like in a really severe case is that someone maybe in their late 20s or early 30s might be missing 80% of the structure that holds onto their teeth, and they start to lose their teeth. So it's quite bad for your quality of life when you start losing teeth at a young age. It's a preventable disease in most cases. If with good oral hygiene and good professional maintenance, you can get in there and reduce the bacterial load, and you can sometimes obviously improve the patient's oral hygiene. Sometimes you can use drugs and stuff to immunomodulate and other things to sort of try and reduce the susceptibility as well of the patient. So the way I like to think of it is that pretty much anyone can have gum disease. We're all on like a susceptibility scale, let's say. And you might be right down the bottom of that scale, someone who doesn't have the periodontic gene, but then you might smoke. You might be smoke 10 a day, and that would push you up, say 10%. But then you might have a family history of diabetes. You might be overweight. You might have, poor sleep for an extended period of time, or severe stress for an extended period. You might have hormone imbalances, and that will push you up the susceptibility scale. So suddenly a person who's not super susceptible can end up being more susceptible, and then add in the bacteria in the mouth, and you can, recipe for disaster. You start to see gingivitis. That's the first stage of periodontitis. You start to see a bit of bleeding from the gums. And then that can lead to the bone loss. And what I'm saying when I can smell it is that I've been around it for so long now that I can sort of smell when someone has active gum disease that's not being managed properly or being managed at all. And it has a particular smell, which is, I don't know. I don't want to describe it, but, just imagine like steeped bok choy or something. I don't know. It's not good. And so most people don't even know that they have this on their breath. You can't, everyone, I think there's a study somewhere that says you can't smell your own farts, or that you don't think they smell that bad. But it's the same thing with gum disease. You don't really know that it's happening. It's a painless disease as well. So often we get patients turning up in their 30s or 40s, and they've been told by their dentist they got gum disease, and they come in and they're missing 70% of the structure around their teeth. So it's a really interesting disease as well, in that it has impacts on the rest of your health. So having this chronic inflammation, because it's an inflammatory process that's happening, having this chronic inflammation is going to drive up inflammatory mediators in your whole body, and your body's going to be dealing with a chronic inflammatory thing happening in your mouth, so it's less able to deal with other inflammation in the body. So, there's now links between gum disease and diabetes, IBS, like really well correlated, particularly with diabetes, and linking it to everything from erectile dysfunction to neurological issues to mental health issues. And I mean, that's probably more than twofold. You've got losing teeth is obviously going to affect your mental health, but also having this chronic level of inflammation is probably crossing the blood-brain barrier in that area. No one's really died of gum disease. It's not something that's going to kill you. It's very, very rare that you could get that bad and that severe, but the side effects of neglecting this problem, particularly in young people, it's again a lifelong problem. And the problem with this is it's not just like a dental decay, like having a hole in a tooth. When you lose a tooth to gum disease, you've lost the bone. So getting an implant or a replacement option is not always possible. Getting a denture in someone who's had severe gum disease that's been untreated for a long time, you're missing so much bone. You don't have any of the arches or structures you need to sort of get a denture in there snugly. So, the quality of life impact of not dealing with this early can be astronomical, and the cost, a full set of implants and dentures, you're talking 20K,
Wow.
per arch. So yeah, it's and it's preventable, right? So go see your dental hygienist, go see your dentist, floss your teeth. There's good data for flossing, even though it's controversial at times. Brushing your teeth, electric toothbrush, evidence is supported over manual toothbrush. You're gonna again save yourself a lot of trouble, but you need a professional to poke around in your gums and detect it early, and then that you're up against it. So yeah, that's a very comprehensive periodontal thing. Sorry.
No, thanks for diving deep into that. No, it's interesting because it sounds so similar to like gut health as well, right? If you get a little bit of bloating is the same as like a little bit of like pain in the tooth or something like that, But if you don't deal with it, you don't deal with that bloat or that little scratch in your mouth or smell, then it can lead to so much more,
Oh yeah, you've got to, when you see signs and symptoms early, like you need to address them, because these things don't just go into the shadows. They sort of eventually come back and bite you big time. They don't go to the shadows and disappear. They go into the shadows and get bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. They grow and grow. Yeah. That's weird that there's not many, like the flossing is controversial, because for me, if I don't floss, I can feel the food in between my teeth and it doesn't feel nice. Like, how is that controversial?
It's a great question. So the Associated Press released a statement, I think a few years ago, saying that there was insufficient data to support flossing. So, being the truth seeker that I am, I read into this and I said, well, why don't you think? I mean, there's plenty of good data. There's plenty of good journals. There's obviously anecdotally, we all know that we don't floss and plaque builds up and our gums bleed. We don't floss for 6 months, it bleeds. You start flossing every day, it stops bleeding. Great, cool. So why is there no data? So the Associated Press said this because the data they wanted to be sufficient had to be standardized by dentists undertaking the flossing. So they needed daily flossing to occur from a health professional. So they needed dentists to come and floss your teeth every day for an extended period, probably 6 months to a year. And they needed to do this across hundreds of people to have the data to say, we support flossing, there is sufficient data. So there's heaps of data. It's just that the standards they ask for are impossible to obtain. So this is the thing with data. You need to really understand that when someone says there's insufficient data, you need to go, well, what metrics are you using to say is sufficient? And if what's sufficient is impossible to garner, then obviously you're going to say there's insufficient evidence. So that was the case where the Associated Press basically lied to the public to get lots of clicks and to get lots of dentists having conversations with the patients saying, oh, I read on the newspaper, there's no data for flossing. And it's like, well, there's plenty of data for flossing, but none that make the Associated Press happy. So yeah, it was controversial in that, that one thing caused a lot of headaches for all of us, but plenty of data for flossing, lots of anecdotal data. None of your dentists that are worth their weight are going to say don't floss. Water flossers are an interesting one. They've come out. There's the data on them sort of says, that they can't really disrupt the biofilm. Now, biofilm is kind of what forms before plaque forms. It's kind of like this invisible layer that forms 5 minutes after you brush your teeth. And that's the thing that basically gets established and forms into plaques, which, can then become purulent and dangerous. And that's what your body reacts to, right? So water picks are good for removing like big bits of debris. You'll find that when you use them, you get out chia seeds and God knows what. But the actual biofilm, it doesn't disrupt that. So the mechanical cleaning still seems to be king. So that's like your electric toothbrush going back and forth, your flossing sort of rubbing the teeth, your interdental brushes going between the teeth. they still seem to be the best of the best when it comes to the instruments to use. So not to say that you shouldn't use it. It's a decent adjunct, so something to use as well as, but evidence for Waterpik's pretty weak in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Stick to the basics.
Stick to the basics, do them well. And see a professional every now and then. Yeah.
Yeah. What's some other really good, like obviously it's basic tools, like don't eat sugar, floss, brush your teeth every day. Is there something that stands out for you in all that?
I think one that I'm facing a lot is erosion damage. So erosion is where your teeth are broken down by acid intake. And we don't realize it, but we consume acids in places we don't realize we're consuming acids, like soda water. I heard you in your last podcast talking about, doing, tonic water, soda water, G&Ts over Christmas. Soda water is acidic. It has the same pH as apple juice. So we used to think it was a diuretic and that it wasn't actually good at hydrating you, but it turns out it's fine at hydrating you. But the problem is regular consumption of soda water. It's a weak acid, but the constant bringing down of the pH in your mouth, bringing it down to an acidic level, basically breaks down your enamel quite substantially, especially because people just drink it instead of water half the time. So they're sipping it through the day. And the thing with acids in your mouth is it's okay to have something acidic. Your pH in your mouth will buffer it in 20 minutes, right? You can sip some normal water, buffers it immediately. But if you're sipping soda water every, minute for hours, you're constantly bringing the pH in your mouth down, which makes it a better environment for bacteria, which weakens your enamel, which means you're more likely to have decay. So soda water, lemon water, apple cider vinegar, all of those things you need to rinse with water. You need to smash them down as quick as possible. Sipping them long-term is going to erode your teeth. So yeah, I think soda water as well is something we need to kind of treat more as a treat. I don't think it's something that we should have all the time. I think it can be damaging. Even, lemon teas, people have a lot of acidic teas and stuff. Obviously, your Red Bulls, soft drink, that stuff's insanely acidic. Fruit juice is very acidic, very rich in sugar. And again, it's okay to have these things, but it's just the frequency in which we expose our teeth to them that becomes the problem. So it's frequency, not quantity. So it's okay to drink a liter of it, but if you drank a liter of it, weak, like you added, cordial to your water and it's only weak, like a capful, but you sip that all day, you're constantly exposing your teeth to sugar and acid, which is more dangerous than chugging the cordial bottle on its own, probably not good for your diabetes and the rest of it. But from a teeth perspective, it's the frequency that's the problem. So that's probably one. Another one I'll throw in there. This is an Allen one. This is what I like to call anecdata, which is kind of, there's no data really on this, but I'm pretty adamant that the consumption of tea, especially in high frequency, is correlated to gum disease and dental issues. So there was a bit of research out of Korea on green tea and a correlation with periodontal disease. And the issue I have with it is that some of the leaf, the tannins and stuff in the leaf collate, they like stick to the tooth in some people. Some people's enamel tends to be sticky, some people's tends to be fine. You don't know who you are. But the problem is if you drink a lot of tea, green tea, black tea, chamomile, doesn't matter, herbal tea, doesn't matter. If you drink a lot of it, some people get this really sticky and hard layer that forms beneath their teeth, and that forms structure that bacteria can get under. And that protects the bacteria, so it sits there for months or years on end and gets really nasty. So I think we'll find, I'll probably get donked on the head by like Lipton or something after this podcast. But I'm going to call it now. I think tea, we're going to find that it's not so great for your oral health long term. Like it might be great for all your other health stuff, from I don't know. There's plenty of benefits of tea that are well documented. But I think from an oral health perspective, I think the overconsumption, and by overconsumption I mean more than maybe 1 cup every day or two. I think we get moderation pretty bad when it comes to beverages. We think, we only have a moderate amount. We only drink like 5 cups of coffee a day. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's not moderate. That's like several bathtubs per year worth of one thing. Like it's a lot. So I think I'm calling it now. I'd say rinse after your tea, minimize it. Oh yeah, that's the main thing. Just rinse after beverages, food. Just rinse with plain water, right? It's just going to bring the pH back. It's going to wash away all of those sugars that are sitting on the teeth. that's probably again a number one tip from Al is just rinse frequently, and think about what happens in your mouth from an acidity perspective. If you have reflux, that's a tricky problem. You can be medicated for that and whatever, but nocturnal reflux is sometimes even hard to diagnose. It's happening when you're sleeping, but that's again that's even worse because you've got hydrochloric acid coming up into your mouth, which is far more damaging than a little bit of acid from sparkling water, which is just what is that? That's carbonic acid is what you get from soda water. It's the byproduct. It's what makes it taste a little bit different. So people don't realize it, but yeah, a little bit acidic, the old sparkling water.
Noted down for when I have me apple cider vinegar, mate. I'll wash it down a bit more thoroughly.
I heard you talking about that one. I was like, oh, I got to tell Choccy that he's got to rinse after that, or he's going to have stumps for teeth in 10 years.
Old stump teeth. Appreciate that, mate. Yeah, it's you think that you're doing everything right a lot of the time. You do working on moderation. You're having your lemon drink and your soda water, but sometimes you're missing the crucial steps, I guess.
It's very true. Very true. Someone told me the other day, they said you should do everything in moderation, including moderation. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that too.
Occasionally you should go hard and do whatever you want, like don't be moderate because, life's also a bit short. So,
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, for sure. One thing I did want to ask you is I messaged you about it the other day, but the fluoride is in the holistic health industry. Everyone's against it, but then, Western society, everyone's like, you got to get your fluoride in. So I'm all over the show with it. I'm like, I'll probably stay away from it more than I have it, but I'd rather a professional opinion on it.
Look, it's a tricky one. Most people probably don't need to have their water fluoridated if they're using, products. There's fluoride in everything. This is a really interesting topic. So because of something called the halo effect, which is basically where towns that fluoridate their water produce products, they produce fruit and vegetables, and that water that they, use on the land or that they use to put in your 4X beer, whatever, contains fluoride, and it's not leaving the product. So you're getting fluoride, whether you like it or not, through basically everything you eat and drink is going to have trace amounts of fluoride. Fluoride does occur naturally in rainwater, and I'm going to say right now, I'm not anti-fluoride. I think fluoride is technically a poison, right? But so is warfarin, so is a lot of life-saving medication, so is water. In a high enough dose, you can kill someone by giving them a big enough enema with water. They'll die. So fluoride, for an adult to overdose, unless you're drinking like fracking water that's like literally half fluoride, you're not going to get sick from it. You're not going to get sick. There's very little evidence to say there's any problems with having too much fluoride. Do we need it as a society? I think so, because this is really not it's not a problem for you and me, Chuck. You and I can go buy spring water if we want and drink whatever water we choose. This is a problem of low SES areas, people who financially can't see the dentist regularly, kids who don't have the best diets because they're from families that are too poor. They're the ones that benefit the most from the fluoride in the water because it prevents decay. All right. So that's where you're getting most of your benefit is in poorer, younger families where they don't have access to healthy foods, good nutrition, to dental care. And having fluoride in the water, it's chalk and cheese, almost quite literally. You go and I've worked in areas where there's fluoridated water in low SES and unfluoridated water in low SES, and the unfluoridated water kids, we were doing 10 to 20 fillings per kid. And the fluoridated area, we were doing like 1 to 2, like it was something, mostly none, honestly. And it's just so clear cut, and there's a Cochrane review now. There's a ton of data. You can do a lot of reading. You can find data for and against this all day. Very, very few dental professionals are anti-fluoride other than the ones who are run under the holistic banner, whether they do that for marketing reasons or they actually believe that. But there's not enough evidence for me to be anti-fluoride in any way or form. There's a ton of data on the topic. I think people are getting poisons from other things that are way more concerning in their life to me regularly to worry about water fluoridation. I think that should be really for the lower SES families that are out there, which I mean, everyone's going, oh, well, I'm living on the Sunshine Coast, I'm living in this affluent area, we don't need fluoride in the water. You don't realize that so many people are living paycheck to paycheck. So many people can't afford to go to the dentist. So many people rely on the child dental benefit scheme to take their kids to the dentist. So you might live in an affluent area, but I don't think that means that you throw all these poorer families under a bus, because it really does help them a lot. So if you're really concerned about it, drink spring water, we'll get a reverse osmosis filter that will be able to get most of the fluoride, out of there pretty much, if you're that concerned about it. But, you're going to have to basically stop drinking anything or eating anything produced in states where there's any fluoridation, because there's going to be fluoride in your carrots, there'll be fluoride in your celery, there's fluoride everywhere. So, you can take it out of your toothpaste, you're getting less of it, but I'll tell you now, if you've had radiation or something like that, and you've got low saliva flow, you need a lot of fluoride in your mouth to basically keep your teeth together. Your teeth are made of calcium, phosphate, and fluoride. That's what your teeth are made of. Okay, those are the three molecules that make up enamel. So to think that you don't need fluoride, particularly if you've got an issue, or you've got low saliva flow, or like I said, poor access, that's craziness. I think fluoride is definitely beneficial to a lot of people. If you want to avoid it, feel free, that's fine. There's that I think that should be a choice, but I think as far as like doing it for the community, I think it should be in the water. Personally, that's how I feel.
Thanks for that, mate. A lot of clarifications there, and I'm sure people would have had a few. All right, it's
Oh no, I'm sure they'll disagree, and just like I said, drink your spring water. But it's one of those things. But I mean, there's a plethora of data out there.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I wanted to ask you actually is, I've got quite white teeth, and people ask me all the time, what are you using? But I don't use anything. I have maybe charcoal toothpaste every now and then.
It's probably the apple cider vinegar, mate. Just fresh layer of enamel every day.
Yeah. Is this a bad thing? Yeah, I'm wearing my teeth down to the bone.
Look, I think some of it's genetic, some of it's just luck, really. So I have the same thing. I'm very white teeth, and I drink a lot of coffee, and I'm just lucky. I look after my teeth, but at the same time, I think there's definitely a degree of luck with that one. Acid does tend to make your teeth look a bit whiter temporarily, but you get through the enamel, it starts to look pretty yellow. So whitening's a deep topic as well. It's not good for your teeth. Like it's a very basic solution. You're using either, all dentists would recommend either hydrogen peroxide or carbamide peroxide, which will bleach the enamel, does a little bit of damage. Some people use whitening toothpaste. That stuff is really just got a large silica particle in it, which means that you're basically angle grinding your teeth down. It's just scratching the shit out of your teeth. Wow. So that's what whitening toothpaste does. Big avoid on whitening toothpaste.
Is this like the charcoal toothpaste, or is this like
charcoal's not too bad. Charcoal's a little softer. This is another area of contention where they haven't really standardized the abrasivity of toothpaste. They kind of just go, oh yeah, it's not that abrasive. But they also, when they design these products, they like basically put it in a cup of water and then use it on the patient. So it's like extremely diluted down. So it's way softer. But if you use the toothpaste like we all use it, where you put a smidge on your toothbrush, swing it under the faucet for 1 second and then put it in your mouth, the toothpaste actually isn't hydrated enough. So it tends to be very abrasive. So if you're using whitening toothpaste, which I don't recommend, definitely wet your toothbrush first and wet your toothpaste again, and probably stop using it. But if you are a smoker, you drink a ton of coffee, you can hide the fact that you do those things by scrubbing away, but you are doing attrition damage, which is scrubbing away a layer of enamel every time you brush, essentially. So not a fan. Whitening products that dentists recommend, you can kind of use calcium and phosphate before you start doing the process to strengthen the enamel crystals, fluoride too. And then you can do your whitening, and then afterwards you can reapply calcium and phosphate to try and re-strengthen those crystals, because the crystals, once you lose enamel, it's gone for good, but the crystals can be weakened and strengthened. So as long as they're not completely removed, like when you brush with whitening toothpaste, you can sort of strengthen the crystal back up again. So it's a vanity thing, in some cases it needs to be done because someone's teeth is affecting their mental health, and I think whitening is a is a useful thing. Then it's more conservative than doing veneers or crowns.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people going overseas now and having veneers and crowns done, which is again another interesting topic. If you want to get onto bloody dental tourism, that's an mate.
You can go into that if you want, mate.
You'll have a 3-hour podcast on you.
Yeah.
If you let me keep going. Well, I'd probably just say that if you're thinking about going to Turkey or somewhere to have a ton of crowns done, be really careful, because you can do all your research and find some American or Canadian dentist that's practicing out of Bali or Turkey or Istanbul, wherever. But you have to wonder, like, why is this guy working for pennies in this, like, sometimes a third world country, to do the work? Like, it's not conservative dentistry. It's not done very well most of the time. Like, yeah, there are definitely people who get great work done occasionally, but in my experience, which is biased because I only see them when they come to me with problems, because you got to remember, I will have a bias because I don't see the happy ones that are like frolicking on the streets with perfect teeth from Istanbul. I see the ones where it's like, oh, I went to India, I went to a back street, I went to Bali, I had all this work done. What do you think? It's really painful. And I'm going, oh my God, like, this guy's been butchered. And yeah, there's lots of horror stories out there. And I'll tell you right now that if you're going and having work done in Australia and you're seeing a dentist who's practicing in Australia, like, you are so protected as a member of the public by seeing a dentist in Australia, because they're going to be insured out the wazoo. You're protected by the health ombudsman, the ACCC. If there's a problem with your work, like, you talk it through with them, they're going to be pretty amicable most of the time. And if they're not, then you have many measures to get fixed, basically, or compensated. Whereas you're over there, you won't be able to find the guy again once you've left. Like, you've got absolutely no insurance at all on what's being done. The work is very aggressive. It's done very fast. They don't do sufficient wait times. Some of it's done, some of it's not great. We've seen some pretty big disasters. And like I said, once you make a mistake with your oral health, it sort of has this domino effect where you go and have a bunch of crowns done in Turkey. They're done very aggressively. You come back looking great. They're all like toilet bowl white. You think you look great. In 6 months' time, you're going to find that you're going to need root canals because they were done too close to the pulp. They were done too aggressively. They're going to deepened because they were just rushed and shoved on. You're going to have all this gum inflammation around it because they didn't take care to put on, to have nice margins between the tooth and gum. They didn't follow your biological width. They just didn't do anything properly. But it looked great on the day and you were happy, and it cost you, a tenth of what you would have paid in Australia, but you're going to pay in other ways. I'm going to call it now. But yeah, I wouldn't do it personally. It's like, if you had a missus, would you take her for a boob job in Bali? Like, hell no. You got to look at that for the rest of your life. You want you want a plastic surgeon in Australia that you can sue if they're lopsided or if there's a problem. Like, you want insurance, right? Yeah. So you don't cheap out on these sorts of things, on your health particularly. And there are good stories, but I've seen too many horror stories to say that I think dental tourism is a good thing for Australians. It's cheaper, sure. You got no idea what you're getting. Sometimes you get a good job, sometimes you get a woeful job. If you're doing major work, you want someone that's that's accountable, and I don't think you have that when you're international, because you usually leave, and finding the guy or going back is obviously inconvenient to fly back to have something rectified. So yeah, not a fan, wouldn't recommend it. Seen too many disasters, probably a bit biased, but that's me.
Yeah, no, thanks for your opinion. It's no, it makes sense. Like, the poor man always pays twice, because you do the cheap option, you always get cheap results.
Well, yeah, it's just, and just having insurance is valuable, with your health. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. So what's in the pipeline for Al this year? I know you've got your business going well and you've got a few employees and stuff like that, but how does your business expand this year?
That's a deep question. So yeah, we took over in July last year. We've got, I think, six staff at the moment, 3 clinicians, so a team of 9, expanding to 10 pretty soon. We've got 4 surgeries, 3 are active. So you got to look at how many days that the surgeries are filled. We definitely have room for expansion. We're probably only using about 60% what we're capable of using. So trying to get that probably to 75, 80% by the end of the year would be massive, to try and utilize the space we have better, build the business. We're rebuilding our website at the moment. We're doing media shoot coming up soon to try and pretty up our website and our socials to try and make them look more professional. Yeah, it's going to be a big year, I think. I'm going to Japan in like 2 weeks to go snowboarding, so I'm not really thinking too much about the business. I'm thinking the business is going to have no income for the next month, and that's going to suck. And that we're going to come back in February swinging, because we're going to have to kind of rebuild things. But yeah, we've got a really good team at the moment. I'm very happy with how things are going. Other things I'm looking forward to the year. Trying to do more speaking. I'll see how this goes. I don't know how I sound. I probably speak a million miles a minute. Trying to do more jiu-jitsu. I want to try and aim to try and get back in 1 day a week. I've just damaged my rib, so that's not looking great. I'm just about to disappear for 3 weeks, so that's not looking good. But
yeah, it's just life throwing curveballs, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, mate. Make the most of the year, but yeah, just keep working on growth and scaling, and keep building the team, keep values strong. Work on the culture. I've got a few other businessy things that are, in the background that I'm slowly plugging along at that'll hopefully come to fruition. But yeah, just little things, mate. Just one step at a time. This was huge for us, the business. So going from being an employee to a business owner, no one prepares you for being a leader. There's no like course. There probably is a ton of courses, actually, to be fair, but there's no course that gets you ready to lead this particular business. So you can. I was doing leadership podcasts and reading what I could, but the day someone comes to you with a problem and you realize that you have to become the ultimate strategist to deal with all of these problems that are constantly forming, it's sort of a bit daunting, and finding out how to handle them, and how to handle them with grace, and how to handle, how to be approachable, but how to have boundaries, so I just want to be better. That's, I guess everyone should aim for that each year. So if I can be a better leader, a better business owner, a better clinician, a better jiu-jitsu training partner, competitor, person, that's always the goal for me, is just be better than last year. So yeah, that's me, mate.
I think with that in mind, you're already better. You've got that feeling and that desire, so you're always gonna be better than yesterday, because you're always reflecting, and
that's the main thing. Yeah, reflection is key. Just looking back a little bit, but at the same time, I sometimes say, don't look back. You're not going that way, right? Because some people, I think, they focus too much on their mistakes and their flaws. Like, life's too short. Again, don't look back. You're not going that way. Just keep charging. Do your best. That's all you can really do.
Yeah, accept it and move on and learn from it.
Yeah,
go harder, go better. Yeah,
go better.
Yeah. Back to the teeth. Just finishing up, what's a couple of things that people can do just every day just to improve their dental health, other than seeing you?
They don't want to see me. I'm a specialist, so we work in specialist practice. You don't want to. If you're seeing me, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you're in the shit.
If you want to avoid seeing me, which I'd highly recommend, basically rinse with water after the stuff we talked about acidic beverages, acidic foods. Even just when you have a plain piece of bread, your mouth will turn basic carbohydrates into sugars, and then the bacteria in your mouth will turn sugars into acids and other byproducts. Your mouth has enzymes in it that breaks down carbs. So basically everything you eat turns into acid anyway. So just rinse your mouth frequently with spring unfluoridated water. No, and probably floss your teeth or use interdental brushes. Watch a YouTube video on how to do it. Every patient that comes through our door, the first thing we do is go, show us how you clean your teeth, and we look at how they brush. And I've done this for 10 years, and I haven't seen the same person have the same routine. Everyone seems to have this invented way. I don't know. We learn our oral hygiene from our parents, or just we make it up as we go, but I've never seen the same thing twice. It's incredible how varied the technique is, like up and down, huge circles, like the back of the toothbrush. Like, I'm not even joking. Like the things I've seen, you would just laugh at the person, and you're like, this person has done this for like 20 years, thinking this is an effective way to remove plaque, and it's not. So, go and watch some YouTube videos. I don't have any off the top of my head that I
I'll
can
tag
recommend.
one in the show notes.
Yeah, tag some videos on like how I'll find a few to show you, like how to brush your teeth, how to floss your teeth, how to use interdental brushes. Brush your teeth twice a day. You grub, just do it twice a day. It's not hard. Floss your teeth every day at night's ideal. Every second day is okay. If it's bleeding when you floss, it means do more. That's your thermometer. That's how much do I need to do. If it's bleeding, you need to do more. If it keeps bleeding, go see a dental professional because you're already up the creek a bit. Okay, so that's probably it. Rinse, good oral hygiene, see a dental professional, once a year at the bare minimum. If you have more problems or you're susceptible, look after your general health, it's all connected. So if you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, you're highly stressed all the time, you're going to have more tooth and gum problems. The tooth and gum problems are going to exacerbate your other problems, your hormone issues, blah, blah, blah. So, it's part of your whole body health. Look at it that way. It's not just, turn up when it hurts, because that's you're too late. So I would say turn up before it hurts, get good advice, find a clinician that you're comfortable with, stick with them, and invest early, and you'll save a lot of money over a long term. So that's probably my closing notes with oral health.
Yeah, thank you, mate. That was good. Just one more thing. What book would you recommend for people wanting to learn more about teeth or gum or jaw? I know you said Breath before by James Nestor. I've read it. It's a quality book.
That's a good book. I mean, there's nothing that I can really think of that's like a perfect oral health kind of breakdown. So maybe there's a space there, mate. Maybe I better get writing, because no one's bringing it down to a level like this where you can kind of just explain complex things in simple terms.
Yeah, for
sure. Look, I'll have to get back to you, mate. There's none that are flying off the top. Most of my stuff has come from like over a decade of journals, Alan's anecdotal experience, as well as a lot of conferences, endless speakers. That's the best way for us as professionals to absorb data. But as the public, I feel sorry for the public, because you guys are in the dark when it comes to what works, what doesn't work, what's normal. Someone says you need a crown. You don't know what's aceric, what's porcelain, what's gold.
Yeah.
It's very hard as a consumer in health. It's very hard. So you need to try find someone who's trustworthy. And how do you find that person? That's hard too. So yeah, I don't envy the punter in the oral health world. But look, if on Choc's video, are you checking us on YouTube or just Spotify?
Might do both.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, drop a comment, and I can try help steer you if there's anything there.
Yeah.
Because I like I said, I feel sorry for punters when it comes to oral health. It's very hard to get sound advice. Before you're in real deep.
Yeah, we'll start with James Nestor's Breath and wait for Al's book to come out in 2025.
Yeah. Oh no. I heard the other bloke that you tortured into a book over a couple of years. If that's
that'll be you next.
I'm in trouble, mate.
Yeah. Just before you go, mate, have you got socials that anyone can ask you questions on, or
look, I'm on
page?
I'm on LinkedIn. If that's what people use, happy to handle questions there. Like I said, on the YouTube video, I can reply on your YouTube video. Not big on Instagram or anything like that, but probably LinkedIn's the way to go. We do have you can use our website, atlasperio.com.au. If you want to just ask questions directly to me, if this goes really viral, we'll have to delete this out, in like a few years, because my practice will get drowned in questions. But happy for you to send questions through there, because it'll just go to my admin team, and I'll reply via email to you through that. So yeah,
cool. I'll leave that in the show notes for everyone. Sweet. But thanks for jumping on, brother.
No worries, mate. Much. Yeah, sorry to talk your ear off, but we knew that was going to happen.
I'm filled with good knowledge. It's great.
Fantastic.
I'm sure the listeners are too.
No worries, mate. Well, I'll see you on the mat sometime.
Yeah, sounds good, brother. Sounds great. See you, dude.